Sometimes I don't know which desire is just stronger. My desire to only film things once or my desire for things to be perfect. Definitely my desire for things to be perfect. So take 3. Let's go. What's good, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. My name is Brendan, aka 20 Days of June, and if you are tuned into this video, you know what's going down. We're talking about INFJs. Why? Because I'm an INFJ. Now, I do realize that I've never done an MBTI video on this channel, so for people that are on this channel that may not know what the MBTI is, let me put you on some game. Boom. The Myers-Briggs type indicator is basically a set of questions. You can take it for free on 16personalities.com, and they've broken down humanity into 16 different personalities. Now, of course, there are plenty more different personality types than 16. Human beings are multiplicitous, but for those of us who are trying to get to know ourselves, like people who are into astrology, this is a good tool to have because then you pretty much know where you're going while you react to things, just like your birth chart. So do yours. Mine came back and it said, well, first off, I used to think I was an INTP, but then that stopped making sense for me for some strange reason. I just stopped feeling like one and I stopped relating to INTP related things. I retook the test a few years ago and I absolutely got INFJ, which makes sense, makes me feel understood, makes me feel heard, and also is a little depressing, but let's talk about it. INFJ is unfortunately the rarest personality type. It's like 2% of the population. I know a lot of people in the MBTI community are obsessed with INFJs. A lot of people want to be INFJs, so they make themselves INFJs. But how I know you're not an INFJ is if you're saying that like, we're 2% of the population, like it's a good thing. Like most of us are depressed by that. We would like to relate to people. We would like to be understood. We'd like to feel satiated by relationships genuinely. These things that INFJ really wants and can't get. So that little 2%er, cute little thing that they do, it's annoying. So if you think that that's like a bragging point, you're not an INFJ. But we're here to talk about the INFJ door slam, which is something that the INFJ does that is infamous for in the community that a lot of people have different feelings about, and I have very distinct feelings about. But let me explain to you what the INFJ door slam is. INFJs are blessed with this function called extroverted feeling, and it's combined with introverted thinking, which means we are constantly reading you. We are naturally the mediators, the therapists. We are naturally people who care about seeing the best in the people that are around us. We are naturally healers in a way. I don't know why that was given to us. I'm not a mind reader. I didn't invent this shit. I mean, it's just given to me. But we tend to devote ourselves to the people in our lives and to their happiness because, I don't know, it's a part of it, dude. Like, as you can see, I'm pretty fucking tired. Naturally, we're going to be your mediators. We're going to be your glue in a lot of these relationships. We're going to take on the caretaker roles in most of these relationships and not even realize that's how we get there. It's just, I don't think the INFJ naturally feels cared for in the way that the INFJ needs to feel cared for because we're so different than people, and a lot of it is involving being understood. And if you're so rare of a personality type, understanding is so rare to come by. So it is very easy for you to try to understand other people, and it just gets wrapped in our personality profile. And then while we're just trying to exist, other people are sourcing us for all of our gifts because we're constantly bringing understanding to other people because we've never manifested that for ourselves. Prayer circle for understanding. Anybody? If you're an INFJ, let's hold hands right now. Dearly beloved, we were brought here today to provide understanding from other humans onto us aliens who for some reason were presented here to deal with them. Some of us are not humans like the rest of us. We are aliens and we are looking at mortals like, I need you for some strange reason. But yeah, it all is about pretty much understanding yourself, understanding others. We can't help but feel other people. We're empaths. We are both a mind, a heart, a soul. We're a lot of things in one. And a lot of people rely on those things, but don't realize that INFJs are longing to be cared for and understood as well, as that is something that they provide to everybody else. And so we end up in these parasitic relationships. We end up in these one-sided relationships where our job is to take on a lot. Our job is to, although we do have a lot of issues and relationships and our own host of problems and traumas like everybody else, those tend to take a back seat. Those tend to take second fiddle because what's most important is other people's happiness to us because we're not happy. I mean, let's be real. Squidward's an INFJ. So there you go. SpongeBob gets up every day and say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And it's a delusional form of happiness, but Squidward's happiness needs to be real. Squidward is literally looking at people be happy like, baby, I'm not happy. I work at the Krusty Krab. My life sucks. Leave me alone. Squidward is reacting to the reality, not reacting to hope. Another famous character that's an INFJ is Harley Quinn. Why? Because she's literally in a relationship and her whole essence is devoted to this narcissist, the Joker, who's running a game over her. And although she's special and she has all these talents and she's a superhero in her own right, look at where her devotions lie. It's to pretty much give her gifts over to this person that's just sourcing them. You know what I mean? Like, the Joker needs Harley. The Joker's not the Joker without Harley, but Harley doesn't know that. Now, does she? Until she does. So after all this time devoting yourself in this relationship to this person with no resolve, INFJs think that they can do this thing that they don't have needs, which is something I used to say to my best friend in college. He'd be like, yo, B, what do you need from a relationship? What up, Ken, if you're watching this? And I would be like, oh, I don't have needs. That's fine. I don't need that. I just kind of like look and see what needs to be done. And then I just start picking things up. And he was looking at me like I was insane. You want to know why? Because I'm insane. Like, that's a fact. That is so inhumane and stupid to say, but most of the time INFJs are conditioned to feel this way if you've been around family who sources you already. INFJs naturally feel this way if they haven't been forced to get to know themselves. You know, you just don't feel like you need the same things as other people. You're used to taking on the caretaker role and getting what you need kind of by osmosis, just little pieces here and there when you can take those on. And so the INFJ eventually in these relationships and these correspondences, they feel like they are holding up the world. And you may not feel that way, but you want to be near an INFJ? Here's how they feel. They feel like they're holding up this world because every single time they have an issue, it takes second fiddle or it never gets addressed. Partly because they don't demand that it gets addressed, and partly because people in their lives don't feel the need to address it. And there's a major disconnect between what the INFJ needs, what the INFJ knows they need, and what the INFJ projects that they need. Major disconnects, which are for the INFJ to figure out why there's a disconnect between that, because a lot of people don't even realize that there's a problem. The INFJ is consistently, every single time they have an issue, they're like, well, I'm gonna fold this up and then I'm gonna put this away and then I'm gonna come back to it when there's a better time. And they never come back to it. They think if they can just fold it up as small as possible and put it in a file cabinet and move it over, then it'll just be over there, and then we'll get to that eventually, until the day comes where the light cuts on and the INFJ and all this data that they have in their head, it tells the truth. My issues, my needs are never met in this correspondence. I am being used. I will never get what I need here. I am being sourced for something and that only, and my well-being is at stake. And so that world they were holding up, they put it down. They put it down. And to some people that can feel very jarring. It can feel very traumatic. It can feel like abandonment, but you have to understand that the INFJ's poker face is probably better than you think. The INFJ has this ability to feel pain, but to expect pain, to harbor pain, to be misunderstood, but to be used to it, they feel like they can hold on to so much until that moment happens where it's just like, whoa, I'm not winning here. It's not happening. This is done. And so the INFJ cuts you off. That is the door slam. Once the INFJ goes to put away another issue and they realize that although the issues are neatly folded impeccably, like retail, okay, they're neatly folded and filed. When they go to put away another issue, but in their mind, they're opening all these file cabinets and all the file cabinets are full. The room is full of full file cabinets. It's immediate overwhelm. And the story becomes, I can't handle it anymore. I can't hold it. I have to let it go. The weight of this is too much. I have to let it go. And so they do. Poof, it's gone. They have to go. The relationship is over. There's no resolve, and hurt, pain, trauma, dude, trauma. Now, why do INFJs do this? Well, partly because of what I just told you, but partly because they care, partly because they're longing to be cared for, they're longing to be understood. And most of the time they've been deluding themselves that the return on the investment will come, the understanding will come, the click will happen in you, that they can give it to you, that they can give to you the patch to download into you that teaches you how to love them and accept them and see them and experience them for real, not for what you need from them, because everybody needs an INFJ. We are the therapist of the MBTI. Everybody will source need from an INFJ if they're in your life. Whether you know it or not, you will be sourcing need. You will be sourcing their gifts because they tend to give them up without boundary, but in exchange for this understanding that they've never been able to manifest. And it's when they realize that that return on that investment is not coming is where the pain starts. So the INFJ, when they door slam you, is probably hurt. It's probably realizing that the love in the sense that they need it just cannot be provided in this environment, and they need a new environment. INFJs tend to always make sense of your rationale. So even if there is an argument, or if there is a discourse, or if there is a way that an INFJ's need is being unmet, they will make excuses for you. They will try to make sense out of nonsense until it's nonsense. And when they realize they can't make sense out of nonsense, now it's just nonsense. Now there's no fixing it once the door is slammed. They know what they know. Is the door slam natural? It is natural because it is an emotional reaction where it's just like, I get it now. It's not like a conscious choice like, ooh, I can't wait to cut you off on August 23rd. No, it's not like that. It's just a set of experiences that tell the tale. And it's a set of self-abandonment and self-betrayal that eventually becomes real. And when you're your primary caretaker in most of your relationships and not the other party, you start to realize what exactly is happening here. And then it becomes absolutely blatantly clear, and the lights shut off in the house while you're living in it. You're just like, whoa, shit. And then you have to react to that. Internally, you have to react to that. So many years of not having emotions and not taking things personally, and maybe taking them personally, but then rationalizing it, now you're reacting. You've been in control until this moment, and now you are no longer in control. So rather than make a big deal out of it, rather than make a problem, now it's like, I can't take care of us because you don't take care of me. So now I'm going to take care of me, and you're going to have to take care of you. And it seems cruel. Is it cruel? Yes and no. Yes, it's cruel because the other person might not even realize that you've been stressed or that there has been a source of stress here. So they're just kind of like, what the fuck? But is it cruel to you? No, because yeah, they're stressed in this moment, but you've probably been stressed for days, months, years. I've heard too many testimonials of INFJs who have randomly divorced partners and saying, you don't understand for years how hard this has been for me, being unseen, being unheard, being unfelt, feeling like I'm not deserving of these things, feeling like my life force, my perspective on life doesn't exist. I tried for years to go without, to have my needs unmet, and I just couldn't do it anymore, and they snap. So the cruelty thing really is subjective, because one could say that the torture that the INFJ goes through in these one-sided relationships is torture. INFJs are prone to narcissistic abuse because of that. We have to guard ourselves. INFJs are dealing with a lot, including your shit. So it's like, bro, like if you probably got door slammed by an INFJ, it's probably because the dividend just became too clear that they realized that constantly emotionally they were in the red and you were not providing maybe what they need. And it's not always about what you want to provide. It's about providing what that person needs if you need them. Or if you love them, not loving your way, but loving the way that feeds the person that you're with. And if that person is so hard to love, then maybe you should choose somebody who's a little bit easier for you, but also don't source the INFJ for their gifts then. A lot of people don't want to do the work that it takes to love an INFJ properly, but they want to source an INFJ consistently for their passion. They want to source an INFJ consistently for their understanding. They want to source an INFJ consistently for the way that they love. They want to source an INFJ consistently to feel like they exist. An INFJ can make you feel so real, so validated, that we have this ability to do it because it's true to us. It's true to us because we long to be seen, because we long to be loved, because we long to be heard, that we can mimic that. We can give you that. But a lot of times INFJs are trying to give you that because they need it, and they won't say that to you, and they won't even consciously realize that. And I am now learning to consciously realize that, which is what's making me do this video, is making me understand that it is a trade-off. INFJs are not for free. The INFJ in your life is not for free, because one thing that we can do, which hurts, is be alone, but we can learn to do that. Have I door slammed? Absolutely. Do I regret it? Sometimes. Not all the time, no. Sometimes. That means some. Times. I regret door slamming when I needed to be heard and I did not express myself. I regret door slamming when maybe there were people I could have spoken to and garnered closure from before it's over. I don't regret ending the correspondences. I don't regret ending the relationships. I don't regret changing the relationships, but I do regret not taking the opportunity to speak about it. And not everybody deserves it. I am still battling with one of my old mental functions that says closure is a myth, because closure is not a myth, but it also can be if you are in a situation with somebody who just will not give that to you. But there are people who I have door slammed that probably could have provided me with some form of clarity or closure that now I wish I did not do that, because now I got to work through those issues alone. Just because you slam the door doesn't mean you don't take your shit with you. You take it with you wherever you go. So you don't just get to close the door and then walk the other way and then it doesn't exist. No, even if you door slam, you still have to do the work. So that's when I regret it. Now's the big thing for INFJs. Should you door slam? I think you should door slam when you realize that you are in a correspondence with somebody who is narcissistically abusive or just unable to give you what you need, because that return on that investment is necessary. And if you keep door slamming and going through life, it's going to keep spinning the story that people can't be what you need, or that you're not worthy of that satiation, of that love, that of being seen. And that is what you need more than anything. And if you continue to just move on without that, what you are probably doing is recreating the loneliness cycle that the INFJ does have, that problem where we feel like we're just lonely or we're alone or people just won't get it. If you keep just cutting off and moving on and cutting off and moving on and cutting off and moving on and keep recreating the cycle of devotion, rejection, devotion, rejection, devotion, rejection, months at a time, years at a time, relationships at a time, you're spinning your own pain around in a circle and you're creating the problem. So don't be SpongeBob looking for the maniac. You have to be able to really understand and cultivate relationships from an unnatural place, because your natural place might just make you be way too much of a caretaker. It might make you completely abandon yourself and then make you feel like you're earning this love that should be natural. I feel like you should door slam when communication doesn't work, because as an INFJ, communication is really all we have. By the time an INFJ is bringing an issue up to you, it's probably been an issue for a while, because we don't really even like to do that. But when we are doing it, we can do it. And if your communication doesn't work, or you're in a correspondence with somebody who is deflecting, or they don't understand, or they refuse to provide you with understanding, because a lot of people just refuse to provide understanding, it's a conscious rejection, then it might be time to just walk the other way. It might be time to door slam. I mean, communication is our ace. It's what we got. That's all we know how to do, is to be like, when it's time to speak, we can do that. That's why these INFJ channels have videos that are like 50 minutes long, is because, oh, we can communicate. But if you can't, then you can't. And you don't want somebody to drive you crazy, because you're going to be like, okay, maybe I said this wrong, so let me say it again. Okay, maybe I said this wrong, so let me say it again. Okay, maybe I said this way, so let me say it again. At some point, stop. They heard you and they ain't listening. Let's move on. INFJ should door slam when the space just simply isn't held for you. Sometimes you've cultivated a bad relationship. Sometimes you planted seeds in some soil that's infertile, and you're not reaping any harvest there. Sometimes it's just not gonna happen. And you need to know the difference between when it can happen and when it can happen. But if you planted a seed in infertile land, cut your losses, dude. Not happening. Sometimes people just aren't holding the space for your emotions. Sometimes they'll hold space for other people's emotions. Some people pick and choose. Some people can't pick and choose, but you know when there's no space for you. You hold space for people. You make sure that people know that they can come to you and they can live in your soul. And if you don't have that same space from people, time to go. The INFJ probably should door slam when their boundaries just are blatantly disrespected. We're very sensitive people. We're used to usually having our feelings hurt. So that comes with a lot of like containment, and it takes a lot to really open up and even get to that point to speak, which is why if an INFJ is speaking, you should probably be attentive, because it took a lot to get there. But if your boundaries are constantly not being respected, if you told somebody, hey, when you do that, this happens, and they constantly are just writing you off and saying, I don't give a fuck, well, then it's probably time to door slam, because all you can do is communicate once again, and your boundaries are very serious to you. And if you tell somebody, hey, I just really don't like when you do that, it brings out the worst in me, and they continue to do that, why are you going to continue to love the way you love for that person who can't even do that one thing? When you're an INFJ, you understand the gifts that you bring to the table. And if you don't understand the gifts that you bring to the table and you find out you're an INFJ, get to know those gifts, because that will create self-worth and that will let you know when it's just time to pack up your toys and go home. Sometimes you got to, and there's nothing wrong with that. And last but not least, INFJ, it's all right to door slam once you realize you're just being used. Parasitic relationships are a thing, and some people are just parasites. Look up emotional vampirism. I've learned a lot about that. I've learned a lot about emotional vampirism. I've learned a lot about emotional incest / enmeshment. These are things that are placed onto and into us where people are able to source us for emotional gratification. But usually those are people who have their own blockages where they can't provide that for whatever reason, whether they need a therapist, whether they need an exorcist, whether they need a lobotomy, I don't care. The reality of the situation is none of that is your problem. While you are being hurt by people you love, you are doing damage to yourself. Do you realize that? You are doing the damage by connecting to people and trying to source people for what's not in them. Not everybody has love in them. And I know that's so hard to say, but some people need to go get right. Some people need to go to therapy. You're not a therapist. You're just a healer, and there's a difference. You might even be an enabler, which is bad. You have to, instead of just being a validation machine for other people, advocate for yourself. Be a validation machine for you, so that way you just know, you know what I mean? And it does hurt to door slam. It does take time to, recover from having to door slam. But while you are in that solitude, while you are in that moment, do work on yourself to stand firmly on your own 2 feet, so that way you know what you bring to the table. Or as I say, I don't bring anything to the table. I am the table. If I leave, you're eating on the floor. That's just a fact. But you just have to know when you're being sourced and when you're being used and when you're being taken advantage of. And once you figure that out, do what you will. So I'm not saying that means immediately cut people off and just say no. You don't have to just go dark on people. This is not me telling you to ghost people, although prone. But this is me telling you to have boundaries and to set them and to work on your boundaries. So the door slam, although it is known as just the cold stop and walking away, can maybe be slowly moving away, can maybe be establishing those new boundaries. You can change your door slam without hurting yourself, because I do think that the door slam is absolutely necessary. I think that the door slam was put here to protect us, because none of us do it on purpose. A lot of us have learned about the door slam via realizing we're INFJs and then go, oh, that's what that was. Oh. And then you're probably, if you just learned about it, you're looking through like a list of people who've been door slammed and you're like, oh, it's probably a lot. It's probably a lot, but that's because that's what we got and that's what we're given. You know what I'm saying? So if you're an INFJ, you have to now be your own parent. Like, take care of yourself emotionally and then loan whatever's left out to other people. But if you're just gonna be for free, you're gonna hurt yourself until you trigger that function, which is telling you to slam that door and run away. And then you're gonna recreate the loneliness cycle, which is gonna make you feel so lonely and so needy and so dependent. And then you're gonna find somebody else who you're gonna wanna pour into and earn their love, and they probably won't be able to give it to you. And here we go again. So yeah, INFJ, do door slam, but be careful how you do it. I'm not saying slam the door, but maybe close it, because you do got to close them sometimes, because you know when people are trying to be emotional vampires and people want to source you for your gifts, for the positivity that's in you that you can't seem to give to yourself. It's like being the world's thirstiest man holding bottles of water and you can't take a sip. That guy is not going to be happy. So if an INFJ has door slammed you, it's probably because you've been sipping water from a thirsty person and haven't offered them a single sip. I don't know, fix that, or don't learn next time, because you're probably not getting back in there if that door's shut. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say, INFJ. I understand that loneliness is something that you're gonna have to combat because your relationships with people are so, just all over the place. But you're gonna need to find out how to establish how to get your needs met in these relationships, or else you're gonna keep recreating this cycle of slam door, open door, slam door, open door. How about boundaries? Let's start there. Boundaries. Finding other INFJs to speak to listen to. Like, there's a lot of community out here, so find them. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to this. I don't even know if this is gonna get any views because I don't do MBTI content on this channel, but whatever, I'm gonna try it. I've realized that my entire existence on this YouTube channel has been an INFJ rant. I just INFJ rant about things other than being an INFJ. But if you find all these INFJ channels, we really do all kind of speak the same way, in a way, across racial lines, across sexuality lines, across all different kinds of lines. The INFJs be on the same type of time. And I love that because that makes me feel at home. So shout out to you if you're a YouTuber and you're an INFJ. I love you, I understand you, I validate you, and I get you. And do the same for me or I'll take it back. Period. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video if you made it through. And don't forget, man, there's no such thing as good or bad people, just complicated stories. Catch you next time. That blink was weird. I'm gonna do it again. Catch you next time.